Do you want to create some earrings with me? Check out these adorable hummingbird earrings I've got on, inspired by all of the hummingbirds that have been coming around my house. So I'm going to show you how we create those, but first I would just want to say, hey, I'm Christy here at Crafty Christy's Creations, and I'm here to help you master your silhouette. Okay, but before we get in, I have to tell you a story. This is my third time recording this introduction. I've been having so many problems with my camera and recording setup here. So don't mind the wardrobe change that is going to happen when we get into the video. So let's jump in. Okay, here is my little hummingbird here, and it's already to size. So we're gonna cut this at a 1.5 inch size. But let me go ahead and just zoom in here, and then I'm gonna ungroup everything so you can see all the different layers that we're gonna cut. I've got this layer here that's just gonna do the kind of under part of the wings. We've got the black layer that's gonna lay underneath, over top, I guess, oops, and Control Z. Let's group this little black dot. I'm gonna hold down the Shift key and grab those, and then I'm gonna right click and group those together. So we can grab all the black together. And then I have this white chunk and the red chunk, and you saw how those fit together. And then here is the part that we're gonna cut out of leather, and then I've got the little tiny bit of hole in there. And we're gonna cut 2 copies of these, and I want them to be facing opposite directions. So all we're gonna do is go ahead, before we even get started, I'm gonna go ahead and mirror a copy to the other side. That way we've got 2 copies and everything's ready. Okay, let's zoom back out, and now let's get things set up for cutting. I'm just gonna get my pieces kind of put together here. Okay, so these are the ones that we're gonna cut from our leather, and then we're gonna cut on our sticky mat. Everything's on the sticky mat today. So let's jump over to our silhouette and get things set up. Here is, let me show you what we've got. This is the faux leather. It's a nice kind of lime green. And then for the other green layer, we're gonna do this green foil. I think that's gonna add some really pretty shine. I've got a red foil for the red part. I've got a white glitter, and then I have a black glitter for the outline, and I think these are gonna look really cool. So the leather came from this leatherette kit, and then I also have this little kit of earring pieces here, and I grabbed the kind of, I don't know what you call this color. It's like a blackish silvery color. So that's all the equipment, but let's go ahead and start by cutting our piece of faux leather. And to save my sticky mat, I'm gonna grab a scrap of transfer tape. I'm gonna go ahead and just slap that on the back of this faux leather, because I want to protect my mat from the fabric that's on the back here. So I'm just gonna cut this extra bit of transfer off the side here, and then I can finish covering up the rest of this right here. I can just cover the rest of this up, or I can just wait and do that another time. Now there's just a little corner here that's not covered. So you can always just wait and do that another time as well, knowing that I just really need a couple of inches. So I'm gonna come over, and knowing that I'm gonna use this top chunk here, I'm just gonna measure out, I'm gonna leave the whole length there, and then I'm just gonna cut off like 2 inches in height, should be plenty. And I'm gonna try my darndest to cut a nice straight line here. Okay, so there's my green piece. It has that transfer tape on the back so that none of that stickiness gets on my sticky mat. And then you can put this anywhere you want on your sticky mat. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this at the 5-inch mark. See my awesome job of cutting a straight line. So the 5-inch mark, and then I have the 6-inch mark on the side here. We can go ahead and load this in. We'll get this cut out first. And then I'm just checking my rollers since I recently used my electrostatic mat. I want to make sure those all look good, and they do. So we can come back to silhouette. And I moved these to that 5-inch mark. So I'm just going to come down here, move them down here to that 5-inch mark. Let me zoom in. This is a hard color to see, isn't it? So let me just get these put on here. And I'm just going to save as much of this as I can. And really we're just over the 3-inch mark. So that looks great right there. And then we're going to come over to our send panel. We're going to change that material to under fabric is where you're going to find it. I'm going to do the leatherette setting. I don't need to make any changes to anything else here. Everything looks good, and we're just going to hit send. And it's going to tell me to send again. And then it's going to get that cut out. So I pre-tested out all of the cut settings that I'm sharing with you today. So I did lots of test cuts to make sure we have the right settings. So that way you didn't have to stare and watch as we did all of that. And then I'll be back when it's all done cutting. All right, it's done cutting, and I'm going to just check while it's still on here. Sometimes it's hard to tell. And you're gonna have to check by trying to leave the transfer tape on the mat and then just seeing if you can't pick up just your faux leather. Let's make sure that there's a good cut there. And yeah, it's cutting well. Okay, so that's good. We can go ahead and unload, and I'm just going to peel all of that off of there. And next we can go ahead and start adding on all of our foils. So let me just take a look here. Let's come back to design. Let's zoom out. These pieces are done. And I'm gonna bring in all of my foil pieces. Now, because we're doing both sides, I'm not gonna worry about mirroring these again. We're just gonna know that one works for one and one works for the other. And let's see, we're just gonna need, I'm gonna do a 2x2 section for the green. And then let's grab the red we can do in this corner. And again, same thing, I'm not gonna worry about mirroring both of them because of the way we're doing it. And then we're just gonna cut a 1x1 section of that. And then at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my glitter HTV. So we'll do a 1x2 section for that. And then let's see if we can't get these guys down here. We can get all of it cut in one go. I love doing that. So I'm just gonna use this as a guide here, and we can get everything cut out. So our foil here, we need a 2x2 section. And remember, we're gonna have to, you wanna cut on the non-shiny side. So I'm just using this to help mark. And I'm just gonna make a little mark there. And then I can set this on here. I'm just trying to use this grid to help me with my cutting. And then I'm cutting these a little bit large because, as you saw, my ability to cut a straight line is really a little lackluster, huh? So I did make my marks a little bit larger than 2x2, so hoping that if I cut them too short that there's still plenty of room there. Okay, so then that is going to go in this top corner. Again, the Shiny side goes down because that's the carrier sheet for heat transfer. You do not want to cut through that carrier sheet. You only want to cut through the actual material. So we put things on here upside down or backwards, however you want to look at that. And this stuff doesn't like to stick. So I am gonna try to come in here with a little piece of painter's tape to hold that on. And then I can do a piece down here as well. And there should still be plenty of room there for that one to cut. Okay, we got everything on here. Everything looks good. We're stuck down pretty well, taped in place. We can go ahead and load this guy in. And it's going to match exactly what we did in Silhouette. So let's go look at our cut settings. Okay, we've got everything set up on here. We can come over to the sun panel and we are gonna cut by fill color. And we've got all sorts of fill colors here. Today's video is brought to you by the Silhouette Crafter Personality Quiz. So what is your silhouette crafting personality? You can go ahead and scroll down this page. It's just 6 questions here. You'll answer this one and then it'll automatically load in the next one. It only takes a couple of minutes to complete. And then when you're all done, it's going to tell you what your crafting personality type is. And with that, I've got a lovely free gift for you to help you along your silhouette journey, along with some recommended offers that I think will really get you moving to the next level. So check out the Silhouette Crafters Personality Quiz. The link is right here, craftychristiescreations.com/quiz. Now let's get back to today's video. Okay, and the first one I just need to see. Okay, that was the faux leather. The black is glitter HTV. So you can do HTV, you can search. Even just putting in the word heat. And for this, I want to use the glitter heat transfer vinyl. And we're going to mark that as cut. And then for my cut settings, I just want to make sure I'm going to do a blade depth of 4, force of 33, speed of, I'm going to turn that down to 3. And then 1 pass, that looks great. And I am, no, I'm not. I'm not going to use the line segment overcut. We're just going to cut it like that and see how it goes. Okay, and then the next one here, this, let me just make sure, yep, is our foil. And for foil, we're gonna put heat transfer again. We'll just put heat. And for this one, I'm gonna do metallic. And I don't need to make any changes to anything there. That looks good. And then the red, just like to double check. See how the lines go away? That's how you know that is the correct one. We're gonna do that same setting, the heat. And then we're gonna do the metallic, and I don't need to make any changes to that. And then we need to do the white. It's hard to tell that it captured that, but that should be these. And for this one, we're gonna do heat, and then we're gonna do the glitter HTV. And then again, I'm going to change that blade depth to 4. And I'm gonna turn that speed down to 3. Everything else looks good. And then I just wanna double check what this one is. Oh, that's this. Okay, so what is this black? Oh, the eyeballs. Oh, that's funny because we grouped them. And they're not quite the same. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna call this one heat. And we're gonna do that glitter. Speed let's turn that down to 3, blade of 4, force. Okay, all that looks good. So the only thing I'm gonna do is pull this black down, so that way those two are gonna cut right next to each other and I don't have to worry about it cutting this and then cutting that. I don't know, it makes sense in my head. And then I just want to double check again. That is indeed that one. Okay, everything there looks good. Everything's going to get cut. And now we're ready to go ahead and hit send. Does this make you nervous doing all of them at once? We're not going to mirror anything because remember we're making 2 copies. We don't have to worry about it. So we're just going to hit send as is. And then it's going to cut. So first it's going to cut all of the metallic HTV. And then it'll go down and cut the glitter. So you can see now it's moved over to the second metallic. And it's thinking. And now it's going to change that blade depth and it's going to come over down to our glitter and get those ones cut for us now too. So that's the fun part when you do the cut by line color or cut by fill color. You can adjust those settings and cut different materials all at the same time, which makes this go a lot faster. And then just like everything else, we want to test those and make sure they look good. And we're not going to be able to really test the top ones, but I do want to just make sure that these came out okay. And this might be a little bit difficult to test. Actually, this looks pretty good because, yep, that cut through perfect. Okay, so I'm not worried about the rest. We can go ahead and unload. Everything else cut well. Let's go ahead and peel all these off. While we're gonna get all of this weeded out and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the heat press. So like I said, this one we can just cut now that we have our 2 little pieces there. I can just cut around, and that's the little piece that we need. And then remember, for this you want to take off the extra. And then the fun part is I'm going to leave those together for now because they're such small pieces, and then we will need to cut those apart before we lay them onto our faux leather. And then we can just weed this one. So you just have to pick up a corner, peel that back. I'm so excited. These are gonna look so cute. I just put out a couple of new like hummingbird plants, and funny, I can't even tell you the name of them, to go along with some of the ones that I bought last year. Again, couldn't tell you the name of them. But the hummingbirds have been coming and visiting my plants just as much as they have the feeders. So it's really cool to have them coming back and forth. And I just love hummingbirds. And since the hummingbirds are around, I thought it was the perfect time to make some hummingbird earrings. Okay, and then we've got these little guys. So this one might be kind of difficult to weed because it is so very thin. So I'm just going to try to weed the outline first. And then we can come back through and peel the centers out. Okay, there's that. And then coming through and peeling out the center. This is so, so tiny. Look how thin that is. But it is going to look really awesome if we can get it to actually work for us. And will my eyeball stay? Oh, nope, the eyeball did not. The eyeball was too small. It did not stay. So these will be eyeball-less. That's okay. it's really hard to design in such a small size, so I did these in a larger size and then had to downsize them, knowing that I would have to make sure that they were going to be thick enough to do this, but they might still cause a problem. Gosh, that is so thin. Can you see how thin that is? And then each one of these pieces is going to come out of here individually, and it looks like some of it didn't actually come through, and I wondered about that because it is so thin, and with glitter you usually need the design to be a little bit chunkier for it to hold. Let's see. So we might have to recut the black and give it a bit of a thicker, let's see, of a thicker outline to make this cut better, because we lost that section right there. That section right there is trying to come undone. Let's see what the next one looks like when we weed it. Okay, that one worked really well. Okay, that's cool. So I might just cut, I think I am going to just cut this one more time, just so that way I get a nice clean look on both of them. But before I do that, let me finish doing all of this. I can do that part off screen, but I want to finish cutting all this. So remember, we have the transfer on the back, which is why this is like being a little bit difficult to peel out, because it's stuck to that transfer tape. And this we used the overcut so that it could really get into those little notches on the wings and cut those out really nicely. That looks good. And the hard part is the hole on here is so tiny. It is rather difficult to find. And I can't even, there it is. Can barely get my little tool through there. That should be good. We don't need it to be a very large spot. And then we can go ahead and just peel out this other one. Okay, so there are our little hummingbirds. Take this guy, turn him around. Hopefully you can see that. It is going to be a little bit difficult to get these lined up on here. And I might just have to do them one at a time. We'll see. But the other thing I can do is I've got my heat resistant tape that I can also use to hold things in place. So let me just get that lined up. And that's lined up good there. And then I'm going to take my heat resistant tape, tape that down just like that, and I'm going to tape everything right there to the table, or to my to this cover. And then we're going to do the same thing with this guy. I'm going to get him lined up again. Get a piece of this. Okay. Just getting that lined up where it goes. Getting that taped on there. You can always check on the back as well if you need to. Oh, that moved. There. And then we'll tape him down right there, Mr. Hummingbird. So we're going to do close for, oh, hello. Let's cover everything up. That's why there's a fold line in there. And we're just going to do 15 seconds. Okay. So that's all done. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. We can go ahead and peel these guys off of here. I know it's so hard to work with these itty bitty pieces like this. But look at that. Look how pretty that looks with that foil. But I'm going to use this white glitter piece to help me with the curves and sort out where everything else is supposed to go. Okay, so if that lines up right with that, right on the edge. Okay, so that's going to line up right across the edge. So that means our red needs to come in, and this is going to line up this direction on the throat, and it needs to end kind of right along that edge right there. And that's gonna work. Let's see if I put this guy here, you can still see. Bring in my heat resistant tape to, again, I want to hold him down in place. And then where's my other red? Here it is. So the white comes to that edge of where the creases are, or I guess like where the wing line is. And then this wants to go this direction and just goes kind of under. It should fit right there. All right, that looks good. We'll go ahead and fold this over, and we're going to do another 15 seconds. So remember, initially this actually needs 30 seconds, but because we're doing multiple layers, I'm only going to do 15 because it'll get that extra time for everything else. Okay. I must have something sticky on here because it's sticking. All right, but those are looking so great. Okay, so now what we need to do is turn the heat up on the heat press. And this time, we'll see how we got some wrinkles there because it's getting too hot. So even that 15 seconds was going to be too much. Okay, so now what I want to do is turn up 320 degrees. We're going to leave the time alone. And then while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and recut the black layer, and then we can set up the black and the white. I'm going to pull this off the heat while I do that, and I will be back momentarily. All right, let's get the rest of this little hummingbird all figured out. And we are gonna add our white pieces next, and then we'll add our black. And we're gonna have to do these in 2 separate goes because they overlap. So this is just gonna sit right up against where that red was at, and they touch right there. And then we can add this one on this side. Okay, and then that is covering up all the rest of our foil, which is good. And then because we've got another layer, I know I've got it set for 15, but I'm only gonna do, let's do like 5. Okay, let's see if that's enough. Because I am a bit worried that, oh, look at that, our nose goofed up. Let's see if that's enough. Yeah, that was 5 seconds, and that was plenty of time. Let me just peel this carrier back off. Gosh, that's hot. If you have heat gloves, this would be a great reason to use them. Okay, so I cut a second copy of this guy. I don't really know what happened to my nose there. But now we're going to try to get this done as an outline. Sometimes it's easier to hold them up. And I'm just focused on first lining up the wings. And you just have to decide for yourself, especially when you're working with really small projects like this, what is going to be the easiest way for you to do it. Sometimes holding it, sometimes laying it flat. Ideally, I'd get my head in there a lot closer, but boy, is it hot. It's a little bit off, but again, remember I told you everything kind of spreads out a little bit. So that one looks good. Let me try this, salvage this other guy. That took a lot of maneuvering, but there are our two little guys there. We're gonna go ahead and pull that over, and I'm going to do, I have 15 seconds. I think, again, we're just gonna try for, let's just do like 8. Okay. And I didn't use a ton of pressure. I didn't let it seal all the way down. I just held it closed. And then we can go ahead and just peel these guys off. So it does look like they're gonna peel off, and that's gonna work well. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, how cute. So stinking cute. Worth the trouble. This one might not be lined up as well. I might have to do some adjustments to that nose. Okay, that one's not quite as lined up as well, but it still looks so good. So let's take these back to the table and get them turned into earrings. Okay, I hope I'm zoomed in well enough here for you so we can take a look at these guys. You can see, you know, we're not quite perfect on there with that black. And I can certainly come in here and trim off some of that green on this one. This is the one where the nose got a little wonky. And then here's the other one here. That one looks a lot better. Again, still not quite perfect on there. It is really, really hard to try to get these tiny itty bitty thin pieces on there, especially when you've already layered other layers on there. But, you know, we did the best we could. So I've got this little kit here. This is all different kinds of loops and earrings for dangle earrings, all different colors here. So I grabbed these kind of silvery black ones. And then all we have to do, this one you can see is already opened. I mean, I know it's maybe a little bit difficult to tell, but I'm gonna take this loop and I'm gonna come in through the tiny itty bitty, ever so tiny hole that we made. Okay, I got that one through the little hole. And then you're also gonna put this on there, and then all you have to do is close this back up. And if you can't do it with your fingernails, they give you little tools that come with it. And so in this little kit, you get a pair of little tweezers. And then this is a little like cutting tool to help you cut things. You could also just use that tip to put a hole for that, if that's easier. And then these are just real cheapy tweezers. I don't know that they really do much. But then I am also going to, now they've got that relatively closed, I'm gonna try to grab this direction and see if I can't squeeze that together really well. Okay. One earring made. Well, what do you think? There's our, oop, this guy needs to turn around. Turn around, friend. There we go. There's our super cute little hummingbird earrings. How adorable. You see how wonderful they look with all that color, and even that HTV that was really hard to put on there in that black looks really well. So there you go. Before you go, don't forget to check out the Silhouette Crafting Personality Quiz, craftychristiescreations.com/quiz, and I'll see you over there.